All right. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good day, everyone who has joined now. So regardless of where you have joined us from, I want to welcome you on this episode of Legacy Hut with Parenting with Akinroko. But we have a special edition, special series this month of June. As we all know, this month of June, precisely June 18 or 19, is dedicated to celebrate the institution of fatherhood worldwide. So it is known as Father's Day. So to commemorate that great institution of fatherhood, I have dedicated the whole of June, this month of June, to teaching, to talking, and to have a conversation with us around the institution of fatherhood, because fatherhood is such a serious business that can't be handled with levity. So that's why I have dedicated the whole of June to this teaching. So every Monday in this month of June, we are going to be talking about fatherhood. So today's topic is the key to being great fathers, or the key to being good fathers. So depending on where you want to look at it from, you can either be great, you can either be good. But if I were you, I would really appreciate if we go to being highly favored. Thank you for joining. Riverside School, thank you for joining. Feintola of Lagos, thank you. Grandma Fakia, thank you for joining me. So depending on what you really want to achieve, if you are like me, so please let's invite, I'm seeing only women, only mothers here, grandmas here. Please let's try to invite as many men as possible, as many fathers as possible. Let's invite them to join us on this show. So if everyone is like me, every father is like me, I've discovered that being good is not just enough. Being good is just like being average in everything we do. So I prefer us to be great fathers to the children God has given unto us, great fathers to the women God has given unto us. Thank you. Father's Day is June 20. Thank you. Thanks for that, for reminding me of the actual date. So today's topic, quickly, because we have the service level agreement with our people on this show. We are not going to spend more than like 30-35 minutes so that people can easily digest what we have discussed, and at the same time they can go back to what they are doing. People are joining us from all over the world. We have someone joining us right now from Canada. So you're welcome, everybody. So 30-35 minutes and we are done with this teaching. Then next week again, Monday next week, we continue with the topic series, fatherhood. We continue with the topic series, fatherhood. So today, I want to start with this quote from Michael Josephson. I quoted it in my graphics I posted last week. The man said, "Being a father is the most important role I will ever play. And if I don't do this well, no other thing I do matters." Let me say that again. He said, being a father is the most important thing he will ever do in his life. And if he doesn't do it well, no other thing he does matters. Right? So when I came across that quote a while ago, maybe like 6 years ago, that actually changed the dynamics of what fatherhood is to me. Meaning that once you are signed or you assume that role of fatherhood, nothing you do matters if you have not done that part very well. If you have not mastered the art of fathering very well, nothing else you do in life that matters. That's exactly what that man said. And at the same time, when I look at our life, I look at the life of my own personal dad, and I look at the life of many fathers who had gone before us, I have to agree with what this man said, because many of these fathers actually did every other thing well. They did passionately well in their business. They did excellently well, in their calling. Some of them that are pastors, they did excellently well, but they did not do the area of fathering. They didn't do it very well. And this man said, if he doesn't do it very well, no other things that he did or he does matters. Look at the life of this man, John Wesley, the father of John Wesley. Before he formed, before we had the church that we know today as Methodist, this man had problem, right? Had problem with the mom. The dad was a missionary. He did excellently well. He was moving from one location to the other, a great evangelist, but he did not take care of the home front, such that at the point in time he went bankrupt. They jailed this man. The mother did everything that she needed to do, just to make sure that the children do not suffer from the incapacity of the father. So if at all the woman had given in, if at all the woman too had just decided not to be a strong mother to these children, we will not have Methodist Church that we have today. So that is the story of Methodist Church I know. That is the story that is available to me. Many of us will have great stories of where some fathers actually did well in their calling, but in the area of fatherhood, they flop. And this man said, if he does not do the area, that fatherhood very well, that nothing else that he does that matters. So that is why I want to talk about this today. But there is something that is key that we don't really pay attention to in our race to become great fathers, to become good fathers, to become excellent fathers. Many of us started late, and that is why I'm taking this from the roots. Many of us started late. As somebody like me, I didn't have what it takes to be a great father, to be a great dad to my children. I didn't have it. I only wish it. Every one of us, when we were young, when we were in school, when we were on campus, we longed for that. We want to be great fathers, to our children. We want to be great husbands to our wives. We want to do excellently well. We want to impact people's life. We want to influence as many people as we have around us. But not many of us, just a fraction of us had or knew what we needed to do to achieve this. Just few, very, very minute of us knew this. And I'm saying this from experience, right? Because when we were young like that, we didn't know what we should do. We had good dream, but we didn't have the strategy, the clear-cut strategies to achieve this. That is exactly the problem we have in Nigeria of today. Many of us, and many people that we have around us want to be great fathers, but we didn't have the key. So the question is, what is the key to being great fathers? What is the key to being great men? To being good fathers to our children, to being good husband to our wives. What is that? The key is just one key. The key is being good man. Being a good man. The key is being a good man. If you master the art of being a good man, or the art of being great men, right? As the case may be, I'm talking about generally now, right? I'm not talking to one person. Generally, I'm talking now. If you have not mastered the art of being great men, it is highly impossible for us to be great fathers to our children. I'm going to say that again. The one key to being great fathers, the one key to being a great father to our children, to your children, to being great fathers to our children, is first of all becoming a great man. If you have not learned, if you have not been raised, if you have not been taught, if you have not been are given all the mind capacity needed for you to be a great man. It is going to be possible for you to be a great father, unless by providence, unless by divine intervention, unless that you intentionally submit yourself to a certain authority. They scrutinize you and they tell you what is lacking or what are lacking in you. If you don't do that, the children are likely going to suffer for your folly. Early in my life, as a father, my children suffered for my folly because I lacked what it takes. I lacked what was needed for me to be a great man before I got married, right? Before, then after I became a father, the lapses, the consequences of that lapses now showed up. And I wasn't only that bore the brunt, my wife and my children bore the brunt. That is exactly what I am saying. And so if you know any man around who is yet not, who is not married yet, even if you know any man who is still married, right, and you ask the person, and the person has not learned what it takes to be a man, there is a danger. And a high time the person subjected himself to scrutiny such that they will know what were lacking in him, and there will be a kind of mind empowerment just to show up for these lapses. That is exactly what is happening, right? Because when I started my own game, when I started my own life, and I started my own journey as a father, I lacked what it takes, because those things I did not do right as a man, as a young man. The necessary empowerment I should have as a man, I did not have it. So I took that naivety into fatherhood, and my children, my wife suffered for it until there was a divine intervention. After the divine intervention, and I submitted myself to critical scrutiny, and I knew what I lacked, and I still engaging myself. I knew what I lacked. Then I sourced, for more knowledge, and I'm still searching for more knowledge by the day, because there are many things that I was raised with. That is what we call generational programming. We're coming there. That is what I call generational programming. What do I mean by generational programming? Because we have been raised in a pattern. Every boy, every male child has been raised in a particular pattern, right? That we've been taught that what is most important for you as a man, as a father, is for you to be financially responsible for your wife and your children. Anybody can bear me witness here. What is most important, what they told us while we were growing up as a young boy, as a young man, was you have to be financially relevant. You have to be financially viable. You have to be financially buoyant for you to be, or for your wife to respect you, for your children to respect you, for you to be a great husband to your wife. That is what they taught us. But that was in total. They didn't tell us the foundation of you even becoming financially buoyant. That is not the area I'm going today. But they only told us, they said it. It didn't go down. That was in the foundation, and that is why most of us, we ran, or we're still running, that the first thing we want to do is to be financially buoyant first. So once I am financially buoyant, then I'm strong enough. I have enough strength, financial strength. I'm wise enough, to bring a woman into my house. That's why when you ask any man who is not yet married, why haven't you married? The first thing they will always tell you is, I don't have the money yet. But I want to tell you, that was what I ran after. I ran after money because that is what they told me, that if you are not financially buoyant, you are worse. Actually, the Bible was actually misquoted, right? That a man that is not, that can't provide for his household is worse than an infidel. And they attached that provision to monetary value alone. It was actually wrongly quoted. Maybe next week we talk about that, right? So I ran after money. The money came. After the money came, I still lacked the capacity to train my children and to groom my wife. That's my responsibility. As the groom, you groom your wife, right? So because of the generational programming now, I sat down and I actually, I took critical look of my life and I came up with a content, I came up with a curriculum that I want every one of us, to listen to and pay attention to that. Before you become great, to become a great father at all, to become a good father at all, you must first of all becoming a good man. Then how do you become a good man? How do you become a good man? How do you separate yourself? How do you decongest yourself? How do you debug yourself of those toxic parenting relationships? Parenting nurturing, the parenting nurturing that you had when you were growing up. How do you debug yourself from that defective nurturing? How do you do that? This is what I'm going to do. So it is a phase. Becoming a good man first is a phase. I want us to pay attention to this. The first phase of you becoming a good man, first of all, how do we become a good man? That is the idea we hold so dear to us, has a way to shape our thinking. So there are phases we usually experience as we build commitment into becoming a good man in our lives as men. It starts with an idea and ends with a conviction. A conviction is the resultant consequence of the stages that started from the idea. The idea is we perceive an issue by the way we think about it. I say that again. We perceive an issue by the way we think about it. So let me now bring it down now to the topic of the day. We perceive fatherhood by the way we think about it, or by the way our forefathers thought about it and they handed over it unto us, which in its sense, there was nothing wrong in it. So when they told us back in the days that if you are not financially buoyant enough, you are not likely going to be a good or great father to your children, they are not wrong. But our responsibility now lies on us to unravel the mystery surrounding our financial buoyancy. That is what we failed to really scrutinize. And we just took that hook, sink, and line. We took it into marriage. We were running after money, that once I have money, I'm going to be a good father. It is not an independent variable of other needed varieties for you to become a great man. Let me say that again. Having money is not the problem, but it is not an independent variable of other varieties, other ingredients for you to become a great father. So that is the mistake we made. So what idea? That is the question I want to ask now. That's number one. The first stage, the first phase is, what idea do you perceive as a man by the way you think about it? So what is your own idea of becoming a great father? Not until you are able to answer that, or rather, let me put it this way, what is your own idea of you becoming a great man? So if you've not been able to answer that question, that what's your own idea of you being a great man, you are not likely going to have the answer of your idea of becoming a great father, because that is the foundation. Once we missed that, it's going to be difficult unless we have a class like this. Then people's ears are open and the eyes are open to see the knowledge, to see the right knowledge and its right application. So the first phase of becoming a great man is, what idea do you hold to yourself? And that idea thrives and evolved. It thrives and evolves in the mind. Many people, the idea they took from their parents, forefathers, is such that women are supposed to stay in the house. When men are talking, women are not supposed to talk. When men are working, women are supposed to be in the house taking care of the children. That is an idea. So if that is the kind of idea that you took, it's going to affect you becoming a great husband. So find out what idea do you hold dear to you. Don't forget that idea thrives from your mind. The second phase is opinions. There are opinions. These are the things that begin to where we express our preferences on that issue. We need to express our preferences on the issues of the idea, the idea that we believe. When an idea is sold to us, when an idea is being taught to us, right? We believe so much in that idea, and we begin to think about the preferences around that idea. One of those preferences around the idea, I believe, was the fact that I needed to be rich, right? In order for me to become a great husband to my wife and a great father to my children. Everything I did at this particular stage was centered around my children, around my wife. That is why when some people are caught, trying to manipulate figures or trying to steal, and they ask them, why did you do this? The first thing they say is, in some cases, the first thing they say is, I got involved in this. I got involved in robbery because I want to take care of my wife. I want to take care of my family. At times, we are so quick to always say that it's a lie. But it is not always a lie. Something else could have pushed the person there. But from the experience, it is true. How did it happen to me? I'm speaking from the experience now. Then what I felt, what I did was to make sure that the end justifies the means. The only thing I did not do, I did not steal, I did not kill anybody to make money, I did not commit any fraud, but I ran after anything that can bring in money. A friend of mine, a sister, is here watching, I can bear me witness. I ran after anything that can bring me money, right? Without going through the processes that were involved, that if this thing does not go your way, what happens? But my mind had been programmed that I needed to make money. So the preference, the opinion, how you are going to make that money matters. So you either go for the opinion now, you go for the preferences that you know that is right to you. Let me cite one example. One of those things that can make you to be financially viable is for you to seek knowledge, financial knowledge. So when they bring any business proposal onto you, right, it is ideal that you go for financial knowledge, scrutinize this, invite somebody to help you scrutinize it very well. But because of the idea that you have perceived, that I've perceived in my mind, when I see anything that can be converted to money, any product that can be converted to money, the first thing I did was just to push my money into it. I wasn't seeking the preferential treatment was not on the path of seeking knowledge to know, is this thing profitable? If this thing go wrong, what is the effect on my family? What is the effect on my wife? What is the effect on my children? What is the effect on our future? So we begin to express our preferences on that issue. This involves our emotion. Don't forget, the first one, which is the idea that we inherited from our parents, takes effect from our mind. But how we now express preferences on that idea, and I cited the idea, one of the idea is, if you are not financially viable enough, your wife will not listen to you, your children will not listen to you, somebody else will raise your children, then you become so useless in the home. So that is one of the idea, financial idea, which is in itself, there's nothing wrong in it. So the opinion that now followed is how you want to achieve it. And I cited one of the examples that opinion thrives on our emotion. So what will I do to make it right? For you to become a great man, before you become a great husband, what are the things you need to do first? Are you running after money or you are running after knowledge? And that is why many people get caught up in what we call a midlife crisis. I'm going to talk about that maybe next meeting. A midlife crisis will always happen once we missed these phases out. A midlife crisis will always happen. So the third one, that is beliefs. The first one is idea. The second one is opinion. How you place preferences on those ideas that came to you. Then the third one is beliefs. What happens in the belief system? We conclude where we stand on that issue. Where do we stand on the issue of being a great man? Where do we stand on the issue of being a good man? Where do we stand? Does our being a good man start and stop in just providing for the family? Does our being a good man start and stop from being, available for our children, being involved and committed? Involved is different from committed. Don't be an involved father. Be a committed father. There are stages involved in that one as well. That is not the center of today's discussion, right? So, belief system, we conclude on what we stand on the issue. What is your belief system of being a good man? What do you believe being a good man? Does it start and end with you just providing for your families alone? We need to know, does it start and end from you being just relevant in your environment alone at the expense of your children, at the expense of your wife? We need to figure this out. And that takes place, that happens, it engages our mind and emotion. It engages our mind and emotion. So, first of all, what you have programmed in your mind forms your opinion. When it forms the opinion, then emotions are involved. Many things you want to do, you don't want to do it because it runs against your emotion. You always fall on emotion. You want to invest in a business, you fall on emotion. When you want to cut a friendship with a male or a female, your emotions are involved. How do you place it? How do you play them? How do you separate emotions from the real point of being a great father or being a great man? So, belief system involved in your mind and emotions. So, the fourth one, which is commitment. Whatever you have idea of, you have opinions of, and you have belief of, or you believe on, the commitment will always follow. We begin to act on our beliefs. This involves mind, emotions, and will. It involves mind and emotions and will. Let me cite one of the examples how it affected me. I've been using myself as an example right from the day I started this thing. Once we brought out a curriculum, a content, I used myself and I just put it out there so that it's going to be self-explanatory, and at the same time, it doesn't have to be what people will accept. They can either adopt or adapt to it. But it's always good to have experience of what you are teaching. So that's why I'm using myself as an example of this. So the commitment is we begin to act on our beliefs. So my belief is you have to have money. Then my opinion is you may not need the knowledge or now to pursue that money. Right? That is the opinion. Then the belief system is I maintain my stand on it. Anytime I see anything that will make me to have money, I go for it. I don't have the power. I lack the capacity to scrutinize the kind of friendship I cut. That is another one. That is what opinion will do, because opinion thrives on our emotion, right? And the emotion lacks the capacity to see what is good and what is wrong. What is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, right? Emotions lack the capacity to sieve, to scrutinize that until you separate your emotions from it. So belief system is we conclude where we stand on the issue. It involves both mind and emotions. The commitment is now we begin to act on our beliefs. This involves mind, emotions, and will. And I was going to say, how did this happen in my life? How did the commitment happen in my life? The first one is once the idea is wrong, the commitment will always be wrong, because you are only committed to what you have an idea of. What you don't have an idea of, you are not committed to it. One of those things I don't have idea of is knowledge. I came into knowledge space late, about 12 years ago, about 11 years ago, 2010, when I was called into this assignment. That was when I knew that, it is good to seek knowledge. But prior to that time, I wasn't knowledge freak. I wasn't pursuing knowledge. I was only pursuing money, just for one reason, to becoming a man, to becoming a great man. Every other thing doesn't really matter now. It's possible I am doing something else. It's possible I'm running after girls. It's possible I'm cutting bad friendship. It doesn't matter. What mattered to me then was the fact that, I needed to make money, and I was pursuing it. I needed to make money. I needed to make money. At whose expense? At the expense of my children, at the expense of my family, because I wanted to become a great husband. I wanted to become a great father to my children. It will not work because the commitment is wrong. Rather, the idea was wrong, the opinion was wrong, the belief was wrong, and at the same time, commitment had to be wrong. Somebody really said some time ago that it doesn't make sense for you to increase your speed when you are on a wrong road. You are going to Ibadan, right? And you face my 2 towards Badagry, and you are increasing your speed. It doesn't make any sense. So this is exactly what happened here. The idea was wrong, opinions were wrong, belief systems were wrong, the commitment will have to be wrong. And at the commitment, don't forget, it involves the mind, the emotions, and the will. Then the last one, in which case that when we get it right, this is the conviction. When we get the idea right, conviction will be equally right. When we get the idea wrong, conviction too will be wrong. Conviction, what happens at the face of conviction in the journey of being a great man? First, before we want to become a great husband, we are ready to die for our commitment, which turn to passion in our lives. At the conviction phase, we are ready to die for that commitment, which now turn to be our passion in lives. That is exactly what happened. So you can now see the journey of becoming a great man first takes 5 phases. Being committed to what you believe takes 5 phases. The idea of what you believe, the idea of what you know, of being a great man matters most. Your opinion matters most. Your belief system matters most. The commitment as well matters most. So if those 4 are wrong, convictions will be wrong, because at the conviction stage, that is where you build the strong commitment, and that's where your passion lies. Your passion lies. Let me cite one example. That is why at times when you see some fathers at 45, at 50, they find it hard to correct the anomalies of the past because of these stages involved. It took me critical steps to come up with these stages because of what happened to me. But thanks to God, I was able to know all this on time. At a point in time, I increased my speed on the wrong lane, but I had to go back, and I started afresh. Went back to the foundation of my life, and I started afresh. Because of what? Because of the journey to becoming a great father right, started from how you have decided to run the race of you becoming a great man. For any father that wants to become a great father, the first thing you must do is to first of all becoming a great man. At the stage of becoming a great man, that is where you learn the critical skill of management, the critical skill of resourcefulness. Resourcefulness comes before resources. That is the stage you learn all those things. That is the stage you learn how to separate emotion, right, from your decisions. That's when you learn to separate emotions from kindness. That is when you learn what it takes to scrutinize, to know who a friend is, who an acquaintance is, right? So if we fail to do all those things at the stage of being a great man, we are not likely going to become a great father or great fathers at most critical need of our life. And I did say that is one of the reasons why people don't somehow come out from a midlife crisis. It happens to men. We may likely take this next week or in the next 2 weeks. How can we survive a midlife crisis? What are the things for you to know in the midlife crisis, and how can you really survive all those things? So I'm going to stop here because of the time of engagement that we agreed. Don't forget, the topic is the key to becoming a great father. And that key is, first of all, you have to become a great man. And what are the stages involved from us becoming a great man? Because of the generational programming in our life, I've been able to break these phases down into 5. The first one is idea. The second one is opinion. The third one is belief system. Then the fourth one is commitment. What you believe, you commit yourself to it. Then the last one is conviction. That is when the thing now becomes a part of you, becomes your life, becomes your passion. That's why somebody will always say that this is how my forefathers handed it over to me. I will never move away from it. The question is, what are those things that were handed over to you? And I did say, I came up with something sometimes ago. I said, culture, traditions, and values that our forefathers handed over to us are not independent variables of their own personal inputs. And those personal inputs may be relevant, might have been relevant 250 years ago. So it is almost not possible that those things are still relevant today. Where I talked about a value system, the culture in parenting, you can still search out for this for the video. I taught this extensively. That there is nothing wrong in the culture that our forefathers handed over to us, but how relevant are many of them with respect to what is prevalent in our life today? Don't forget, the environment is different, the knowledge is different, the experience too is different. So these are the things we need to put in it. So how viable are those cultures that were handed over to us as men before we want to become great men? Great fathers to our children. So I want to especially appreciate everybody who has joined today. Don't forget, I'm still going to post this message here for a while. You can still go over it and listen again, pause, take the notes, jot many things down as possible. Then question and answer. Please post your question and answer here. I am not going to, Mr. Larry Abidoye, all the way from the UK. Because of the time, post your question here. I will come back to the question. I will reply you. We need to allow some of our people to go now because of the service level agreement. Mr. Larry Abidoye, you've been a constant follower of this program. I appreciate you all the way from UK. All the time, you never misses this. Thank you. Please, I want to beg you, post your question here and I will respond to them. We need to allow other people to go now Thank you. As many people that have the questions, please post them and I will respond to them. Don't worry. We still have 3 weeks more after now to talk about this fatherhood series. It's a serious business and we must deal with it with all seriousness, because I know it is what we committed on that give us a great conviction, because commitment will always open the floodgate to the resources you need. When you are committed to anything at all, money that you need will come, wisdom will come, energy will come, resourcefulness will come, help will come, favor will come. But we have to define very well what is it that we are committed to. Thank you. If both partners are career driven, how should couples handle the issue of the home front versus income earner? I'm going to respond to this immediately after now, but I need to end this broadcast now. Thank you. I will respond to it. Thank you, Mr. Abidoye.